Thank you, Frank, and hello, everybody. This is my first WCN Expo, and it's such an honour to have this opportunity to tell you all about the Elephant Crisis Fund. I want to start by going back in time. So, my family spent the last 20 years living and working with the elephants of Samburu in northern Kenya. It's one of the great unfenced wilderness areas in East Africa. In 2009, we were hit by a terrible storm of poaching. Many elephant families that we had been following for years were left without their mature females, and many big bulls were killed too. Koitalal, in this photograph, was one of them. He was riddled with 18 bullets from an AK-47 and died 4 kilometres south of our research camp. But what we were experiencing in Kenya was just part of a massive continental crisis. Over 100,000 elephants have been killed since then for their ivory, from the savannas of Congo to the forests of Gabon and the fringe of the Sahara Desert in Mali. Criminal gangs are at work, cooperating with international syndicates who bribe corrupt government officials, all of whom stand to make vast amounts of money. The crisis was ignited by a booming economy in China. Ivory became a status symbol, and what had been unattainable was suddenly in reach for large numbers of people. This demand became the driver of a supply chain across international borders. Ivory shops in Asia, such as this one, sold ever more carved accessories, supplied from the killing fields in Africa. To counter this, brave individuals have taken action, often risking their lives to fight the crisis. The photo shows an anti-poaching unit in Gabon, and in the left of frame is a resilient and courageous person, Hubert Ella Ekoga, who is its leader. He and his men operate in a hostile and impenetrable landscape. They trek deep into the forest for weeks at a time to stop poachers such as these from killing elephants and carrying vast amounts of ivory across the border every month on foot. They are successful at times, but elephants continue to be killed at unsustainable levels. Another brave and remarkable individual is Vincent Piene in Uganda. This former prosecutor set up a group called the Natural Resource Conservation Network. It's small and nimble and underfunded, and it's up against sophisticated and dangerous people. Yet Vincent has managed to put major traffickers behind bars. In 2017, he seized a 1-ton consignment of ivory, and this led to the arrest of a very high-level trafficker who sits at the centre of a global network. In close cooperation with US law enforcement agencies, he has helped to dismantle this network. Now this is Gao Yufang, another intrepid conservationist. Gao has travelled the length and breadth of China, trying to better understand Chinese consumer attitudes to ivory, in the hope that this would reduce demand. And like all these individuals, Gao's work carries great challenges. But there is a problem. How do these remarkable conservationists connect with each other and find the resources needed to win? Their efforts are extremely valuable, but they could achieve so much more if they were properly funded and working together. And this is where the Elephant Crisis Fund comes in. We support and connect these individuals. The fund was set up 6 years ago as a unique collaboration between Save the Elephants and the Wildlife Conservation Network. As the ivory crisis gathered pace, we realised that no one organisation or country would be able to tackle this on their own. Collaboration was needed. Save the Elephants had an unrivaled network across Africa and Asia of individuals and organisations that were fighting on the front lines, and supporting them could make a real difference. And with the Wildlife Conservation Network as our partner, we were able to set up a new structure and make a crucial pledge. 100% of the money donated to the ECF would go to our partners on the ground, with not 1 cent taken for administration. And this map shows where we are to date. We have managed to get 24 million to over 300 projects across 40 countries. The fund tackles all levels of the ivory supply chain. First is anti-poaching. We fund organisations that disrupt the humans who kill elephants in the field. Second, anti-trafficking. We support local NGOs who work with vetted law enforcement units to arrest and prosecute high-level traffickers who are involved in the trade. Third is demand reduction. Until consumers in Asia stop buying ivory, there will always be someone there willing to kill elephants. And changing this desire will take time, but it's the only way to stop the trade. Over the last 6 years, the Elephant Crisis Fund has played a central role in a collaborative effort to send the ivory trade into retreat. Today, in some parts of Africa, elephant poaching levels have gone down, but in Central and West Africa, there has been no respite. Similarly, ivory trafficking has become tougher and more high risk. These Chinese nationals in Malawi were arrested on trafficking charges and are now in prison. And we are dealing with some of the most serious organised criminals that operate between Africa and China. Until recently, they were considered untouchable. But through ECF support, some of them have been put out of business. In consumer markets of China, too, we see real progress. Having spurred the ivory crisis, China was convinced to shut down its legal markets. And this was a landmark moment that has led to a very significant decrease in demand. However, China is still believed to be the greatest consumer of ivory. Online markets remain active, and ivory can still be bought through a network of underground retailers. So we've won some battles, but the fight continues. Now, all of this has happened against the backdrop of rising human populations in Africa. Ever more land is needed for food and housing, and natural habitats for wildlife are being squeezed. Roads and railways fragment landscapes. Increasingly, wild elephants are in the way of human expansion, and vital wilderness areas are being carved up. Humans and elephants struggle to coexist, and all of this poses a serious challenge to the survival of one of nature's most charismatic species. And nowhere is this more dramatic than in West Africa. As farmers push deep into elephant areas, conflict arises. Elephants trample farms and are killed, further endangering already small populations. But in Nigeria, near the megacity of Lagos, are some of Africa's more surprising elephant survivors. In the Omo forest, just a few miles from one of the continent's largest remaining ivory markets, is a remarkable holdout of forest elephant. They are shy and elusive, only captured here by a camera trap. And their existence is a wonderful beacon of hope in a most unlikely setting. As elephant populations and economies grow, so does the need for human and elephants to coexist, avoiding conflict and harm. So an important new element we are funding is human-elephant coexistence. And the man who has dedicated himself to tackling some of these issues in Nigeria is our partner, Tunde Morakinyo. He has worked in community conservation for over 25 years and is executive director of a Nigeria-led initiative called Africa Nature Investors. He is focused on the protection and development of a critical wildlife area, the Omo Wildlife Sanctuary. He is now going to take us on a journey to this amazing corner of Africa.
Nigeria is well known as an oil-producing country with a vibrant business sector. It is rarely associated with wildlife conservation. Yet in a corner of Nigeria not far from the city of Lagos lies the Omo Forest Reserve. It's hard to overstate the beauty and serenity of this rainforest, through which several rivers run before they empty into the Lagos Lagoon. The rainforest is full of incredible ancient towering trees, some of which are endemic to Omo, and it has been classified as an area of high biological importance, but also under the highest threat. It is one of Nigeria's important bird areas and has a large array of butterfly species that drift around in clouds as you walk through the forest. It is a habitat of important mammals such as the endangered Nigerian Cameroon chimpanzee and the near endemic white-throated guenon monkey, and is also a stronghold for pangolins. Last but not least are Omo's forest elephants. While these elephants have been known about since the 1930s, they were presumed extinct. Then in the late 1990s, a couple from Lagos on a butterfly collecting weekend were told about the elephants by villagers living in the reserve, and sure enough, they found elephant dung everywhere. We believe the forest harbours a population of about 60 to 80 elephants in 3 to 4 herds. It is quite incredible to see this population has survived so close to Lagos. When you're in the forest, the elephants are almost impossible to see, even if you're within 10 feet of them. And this, we think, is what might have saved them. They can also move incredibly fast to get away from human beings. We believe their remarkable intelligence has enabled them to avoid humans and to survive where many other large mammals have been eliminated. Nonetheless, there is still so much more we need to learn about how these elephants survive, where they hide, and how they move through the forest in order to protect them properly. The Omo Wildlife Sanctuary is 100 miles from Lagos, the largest city in Africa, with a population of over 22 million people. And we think the population is growing by 10% a year or more. And while Lagos may sound overwhelming, it's a city I absolutely love. As the picture shows, Lagos is huge and chaotic, but it's also tremendously dynamic and exciting. Lagos is probably Africa's most exciting city for business, art, fashion, finance, and film, and has a rapidly growing and sophisticated middle class, many of whom are increasingly interested in nature and tourism. So while this burgeoning city may be viewed as a threat to nearby Omo, it also represents a huge opportunity. Today, the biggest threat to Omo is logging for timber and firewood to feed Lagos. It's sad to know that when Nigeria was first colonized, Omo and nearby forests were once one of the world's biggest sources of mahogany. Today, most of the huge old mahoganies are gone, as the forest has been logged almost to the point of exhaustion in places. Nigeria has lost 95% of its rainforest, and yet still has one of the highest deforestation rates in the world. So this makes Omo and its elephants even more precious, given how little forest is left in the country. Another threat to Omo is a high level of hunting. All manner of animals are killed to be eaten as so-called bushmeat. As a result, Nigeria faces the silent forest syndrome. When you walk through the forest, all the sounds of animals are gone because they've been hunted and killed to supply the bushmeat markets in Lagos. And the picture shown here scarcely conveys how awful these markets really are. However, the worst threat to Omo is forest clearance by migrant farmers. In the dry season, after the logging, the farmers move in and burn everything to the ground, even the tree stumps, leaving nothing behind. This is the final nail in the coffin for the forest. And with the influx of farmers, elephants are forced into ever smaller pockets of forest, and then conflict ensues between elephants and humans. 18 months ago, elephants stampeded through a village following a disturbance, and the young migrant farmer, who was unfamiliar with the ways of the forest, tried to take a selfie with the elephants and sadly was trampled to death. The government reacted with alarm. Luckily, we were able to calm the situation down to prevent a revenge attack by the villagers, but now the government is highly concerned about the new danger of human-elephant conflict. In the past, elephant conservation in Omo Forest was run by a partnership between the Nigerian Conservation Foundation, Paynton Zoo, and the state government. Then 2 years ago, my organization, the African Nature Investors Foundation, joined the partnership. All our founders have a business background. I'm a community forester, but worked in environmental consulting with the financial sector for many years. Philippi Henachum raises finance for the energy sector in Nigeria. And Junaid Diko works for telecommunications. Jide Lalaye, the fourth founder, works in security. We founded Annie primarily for two reasons. Firstly, to enable Africans to shape the conservation agenda and make it even more relevant to Africans, but also to demonstrate to Africans that private sector-led investments can make nature conservation profitable. Shortly after Annie was formed, when the migrant villager was killed by the Omo elephant, we felt we had to help. So we joined the Omo Partnership to bring in additional resources from the private sector, from Lagos and from further afield. As a partnership, we identified 4 priority interventions: creation of a legal protection zone, ranger patrols, local community involvement in managing Omo, and an ecotourism program to create incentives for communities and government to protect Omo. We engaged the state government about the Omo Sanctuary and the ecotourism project, and the governor became so excited that he declared a moratorium on all logging in Omo and oversaw the seizure of 19 logging trucks. We are now in advanced negotiations with the government about the legal establishment of a strictly protected area, shown as a shaded portion of the map, which will be called the new Omo Wildlife Sanctuary. With funding from the Elephant Crisis Fund, we've been able to ramp up ranger patrols. The state government has given us 6 rangers, and we've recruited more rangers from the local communities. We have bought ranger uniforms and equipment, including motorcycles, tents, uniforms, and boots, and we have carried out ranger training and started active ranger patrols across the sanctuary. The rangers have seized illegal animal traps, removed hunting camps, and stopped the expansion of new farms. We are engaging the communities around the sanctuary so they can understand the need to curtail the farming, hunting, and logging that threatens Omo. We're also erecting a communications mast to improve radio links between the rangers and the project base on the edge of the sanctuary. Our project coordinator and rangers, shown here, carry out more frequent patrols, and with this in place, human-elephant conflict seems to be decreasing. There's been a significant reduction in farming activity, and elephants are more commonly seen around the center of the sanctuary. Now we're starting to develop an ecotourism program focused on the domestic market. Once Nigerians in Lagos can enjoy this paradise on their doorstep, we believe they will protect it. We believe this has huge potential given the rapidly growing middle class. You can see the excitement on the faces of these young Nigerians discovering the wilderness for the first time. Ecotourism will generate revenue for the state government and local communities, giving them a clearer stake in the survival of Omo's elephants. We hope to create a sense of pride in Nigerians for the remarkable elephants that have managed to survive so close to the mega city of Lagos.